Okay, guys, welcome to the Reel Critic Roundtable with Kathia Woods, Shawn Edwards, and special guest Lonita Cook. Now, this roundtable was created to provide a platform for dialogue and debate versus a monologue because, as you know, I was tired of talking to myself. So I got a little help from my friends because, you know what? It's so much better to talk to other people and it's so much more interesting. But sometimes it's so much more fun talking to myself. But anyway, here we are. Here we are. We got the group in today, and I get to open up with my opening statement. So here's my opening statement for you guys today, guys, is that last week we discussed the film The Old Guard, and my friend Katya Woods took that title literally and went in on the old guard male establishment and the double standards women have to live by in this industry. Now, this is truly a discussion that we need to have, and we'll do it in one of our upcoming episodes, but I want to be clear. My issues with that solid film, which I rate a 3 out of 4 reels, is in the writing. The writing was the thing that bothered me. There were real holes in the story that didn't work for me, and specifically the character development left me wanting to know more about these people and not have to wait for a darn sequel to do it. And then we know a sequel is never even guaranteed in Hollywood anyway. Now, Katya, I wasn't thinking about Michael Bay or any other dude when I judged this film, but even if I weren't, it's a shame that we have to have this discussion. The fact that there is a serious lack of diversity within Hollywood and the gender gap is so wide that it's really worthy of the award for best industry that discriminates. In 2019, just 15.1% of the directors on the top grossing films were women, and women only earned 17.4% of writing credits on the films that were analyzed in 2019. I can't speak for anyone else, but I can speak for myself that most of the time, I don't even know who the director is because I don't care. Not when I'm watching the movie. I just want to see the movie. But it's still important, and it's very difficult to ignore that this industry discriminates hard against women, and more than discussion needs to be had. My aunt had this saying that something has to be did. That meant that things were well overdue. Just something to ponder. Hey, let's get into it. Our first movie.
That was dope, man. That was dope.
Well, what's up, dude? What's up? You know, I'm trying to do something up over here. Thanks, Shawn. See, Shawn was okay with me, but I don't know if Katya liked me today. But anyway.
I think what you said is fine. I stand by this. I get thoroughly annoyed when people use white women as the standard for them getting opportunities. Because as a Black woman, I know that I don't get the same opportunities because of the color of my skin and because of my gender. And now I unfortunately have to say because of my age. And you can't use that say white women are being successful and white women are getting this, therefore women are winning. I refuse to accept that because that's not the truth. That's not the reality that we as Black women have.
And we're going to go in on that discussion on one of our next shows. This week, we get to talk about the Tom Hanks film Greyhound. And you know, who is that starring? Tom Hanks. We also get to talk about the Dave Franco film, The Rental. Then we'll have our hopefully not so annual Pandemic Awards to see who's been the winners and the losers. and then we'll get into our closing statements. I plan to get into some good troubles, but ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shawn Edwards. You're up, Shawn.
What am I starting with? Man. My opening statement? First off, I just want to say welcome, Lonita Cook. Man, it's great to see more women, particularly women of color, in the film criticism game. I know how hard it is. I've been on television 20 years. You're on TV every week. That's not easy. Very few Black women film critics are on TV. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Shawn, and congratulations on your 20 years. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, quite a feat.
That's your critic for a minute, or you gonna pub Wilson again, because that's always good, dude.
Oh yeah, no. I want to say congratulations to my main man Wilson Morales. He's got a brand new platform. I love Black movies and TV. He's been on top of it for a really long time. I've known Wilson since 1998. One of the best journalists in the business. Period. great guy, very talented. Support his platform. Work really hard on it. It's been killing the game for a long time.
Excellent. And now here's my girl, Kathia Woods.
Oh, I mean, hi, it's nice to be here. I always enjoy these conversations. I love film. You know, even before I started working as a film critic, I still averaged 100 to 200 films a year. And a lot of it comes from my mom, who was smart enough to introduce me to films that were made before 1950. So some of my favorite films are the old black and whites, and I'm definitely one of those folks that is a hardcore supporter of Criterion Channel and TCM, because I think in order to do this, you have to understand the history of film. That doesn't mean you have to like everything, but I do think it's difficult to have a conversation if your lexicon starts at 1987.
Ooh, well, that just lets me go over to our special guest this week, Lonita Cook.
Hello there. Hi. I am so happy that this is happening. When I saw this show, I said, oh my goodness. And so thank you for the invitation. It's such a joy and pleasure to be here. I am also a film critic. I call myself a film critic, but my background is not in film. It's actually in theater. And so I did get into the film game a little later on, but I draw on the things that I really enjoy about storytelling overall, and kind of what I love about human psychology, human relation, all those things to evaluate movies. But I'm not a fan of all genres. So the ones we're gonna talk about today. So yeah. I'm also an author. Is that okay for me to say? I'm an author.
For sure.
Okay, I have an ebook that I will be releasing soon. It's called Awaken the Sleeper, and it will be on my website. And these little flowers here are a story motif from that novel. So.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, again, at the end, you can pub that again. All right, so let's do what we do. The first movie this week is, it's on you, Shawn. Actually, you get to tell us about this one. I think this is the movie, The Rental, right?
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, The Rental. Let's start with this first. Who knew we would ever be saying directed by Dave Franco? Yes, the brother of James Franco directed The Rental. And full disclosure, before I jump in, Dave Franco is an actual friend of mine. He's a real cool dude, a really, really cool dude. I had no idea he had aspirations to become a director. And guess what? That's the best part of the movie, is the direction. Like, he's actually a really good director. I mean, it's a horror film and the usual horror tropes are there. I mean, there's really nothing new, but it's very stylized. All the characters are they're dumb likable, because, you know, they trip off everything you're about to see. You know, there's very few surprises, but the film does have those solid horror beats that fans of the genre are used to and looking for. I thought he delivered. I had fun watching. It's not going to make any best of list. It's not necessarily a classic horror movie, but it was a very satisfying film to watch overall.
Okay, so Lonita, I mean, you know, I'm thinking when you talk about The Rental, I'm scared to do any Airbnbs in the first place. So I'm already in this horror genre thinking, no.
It's a good setup. It was a good setup.
Lonita, what's your thought about it?
So yeah, what I'm going to say about this is I am a sucker for a cutie pie Franco face. I do not know him personally. So I am going to say I did not like this movie. I thought it tried a little too hard to be clever. I thought all of the horror tropes were there, but in a way that they're not refreshing. I wanted something revitalizing. I was willing to go into, it reminded me of the Kevin Bacon movie that just came out, You Should Have Left. It was the same.
Are you saying
setup.
You should have left? Are you saying you should have left?
You should have left. I should have left. It really is the same setup. Oh, we need a vacation. Let's rent this house. Let's show up. And then some madness happens. I wanted there to be something, particularly when we start talking about racism, something a little bit more substantial. And in this way, the treatment of Mina's race and nationality, or whatever that was about, was very lightly handled and to its detriment, I think.
Ooh, Katya, thoughts?
I'm kind of like in the middle. I appreciate the way he handled it. Do you know what I mean? I appreciate that he brought some actors a little bit more to the forefront. The one guy is Lip, right? From Shameless. And if you don't watch that show, you don't know who he is, because he's not really, you know, you have to be a fan of that show. So I appreciate him giving that young man, maybe they're friends, I don't know what the backstory is. I think this movie did what it had to do. I wasn't looking for this movie to reinvent. I wasn't looking for this movie to be out of this world. I think had this been released in a theater, it would have made money. There are people out there that love horror. We underestimate horror so much at the box office. Like if you look at some of the Scream pictures or whatever, people didn't go because they wanted to see a cat. They wanted to be scared out of their wits. They wanted to have that experience. I could see people talking back to the screen, like, you know, because there were some moments where you're like, duh, these people are doing really dumb stuff. But I thought it was entertaining, you know, where there's some things predictable, absolutely. But I thought you got your money's worth. If you rent this and you want to get together, not safely, with people in your house, not other people, then you got to say that these days, unfortunately.
Let me ask you this. So
Sure.
I'm not a horror movie person, and so maybe it's outside of my scope of things. However, I felt storytelling things were missing. Like the girl who brings the drugs doesn't do the drugs. Kind of, it felt like this setup for setup's sake. It was a device rather than an integral part of the narrative. It was just something that was there to move it forward. And those are the things that I think are universal to storytelling that this movie lacked. And that wasn't the only thing. Like the motivation of the villain. What, where, why, huh? How come? And I think this kind of stalker horror thing, when you've seen a classic like When a Stranger Calls, you know, they did what they were meant to do, but I don't think this movie had the guts to go the distance.
So I understand what you're saying. I mean, I'm sorry, Reggie.
No,
but I look at it as Jason, right? Like Jason has no rhyme or reason, and Jason be walking all over New York, and I'm saying like, and I understand that weirdness and craziness is part of New York, but he still stands out amongst all of that. So I look at this killer, whereas in that type of thing, like we're not meant to have this backstory. We just know there's a crazy man that likes to hurt people that rent places, you know, that's his kink. So I understand where you're coming from, and I definitely think, like, I agree with you on the racism thing. I was like, okay, was that going to be the motivation thing for this killer, that's his thing? But I do think that what I'm interpreting is that Dave was inspired by, like, you know, Michael Myers and that type of thing, guys that just kind of kill because they're not right in their mind. But I do think I still stand that, and I think it's entertaining if you're the type of person that likes to see these types of things and you're just like, I just want to be scared with my friends and we want to talk crap to the screen.
So it's interesting, Shawn. You said the first thing you said is that you thought the direction was good. So would you concede that maybe there were some issues with the writing in this one?
Almost definitely. Yeah, you know, the direction was most definitely good. No, there were huge problems with the writing, but you know, it's been touched on. I thought the movie started off a little slowly, and also, yeah, I had a problem with bringing up the issue of the one character's race without really following through. because you could have just abandoned that whole issue and sped the film up and it wouldn't have lost anything. But by bringing up the issue of race, you have to dwell on that. You have to take it somewhere, or why even bother to bring it up when in this age of storytelling and filmmaking, you didn't necessarily need to bring it up. There are multicultural casts all the time in movies that make no reference to their ethnicity. But if you're going to specifically make reference to it like it is in this movie, yeah, you should have followed through. So yeah, the writing's the biggest point. But I mean, I thought the direction of it was great. It was just, yeah, there's some huge flaws with the writing.
And so Katya, since this is so funny, so I'm gonna invite you guys to talk about a movie and I didn't see it. How is that? How is that? What?
It's a pandemic. It's a pandemic, man. It's a pandemic. It's hard. You get so many screening invites through email. It's easy to miss one or two. Trust me. Yeah, my inbox gets flooded on the daily.
I did. So my question to you is, since Lonita says that's not really her genre, I am scared to watch horror films. Is this one of those, if I'm sitting next to my wife or you, I'm putting my fingernails in your leg? Is this
no.
It depends on what your level of scary is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it depends on what it is. Like, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of goriness, but that scares the bejesus out of me because just the concept of this clown. And that movie, since it came on TV, I have a thing where I didn't even hire clowns for my kid's birthday party. So I was like, I'm good on that. So I think it depends on what scares you. I'm the type of person that I enjoy scary movies because I am that scary cat. And for me, it's like kind of like working through fear. So I put myself through that craziness, whether it's bludgeon. I won't do Hostel because that to me is a little bit too much. But I do enjoy that whole idea where you're like, you know, the person's going to die. You know, the person running into the woods is not going to make it. You know what I mean? But yet somehow you think talking to the screen is going to save them. So I love that part of horror.
And so, Lonita, when you were watching it, did this get into your scare threshold, or was like, it didn't work anyway, so you weren't scared at all?
Yeah, for me, it just didn't work well enough because I didn't feel a sense of fear. And so for me, that meant that there was something off in the storytelling. I think and like Shawn said, if they had started later in the story, it could have propelled it so much faster and created so much more energy. If they took out the race thing, and it was unnecessary for the couple to fool around, that also took you out of kind of this really direct, and because that's what this story needs. If your villain is not going to have a motive, if it's just going to be killing for killing's sake, then the story has to be very direct, very succinct, and it was too all over the place in order for me to really feel that kind of jump, that scare.
All right, Shawn, last word on this one, man.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with Lonita. You know, if you're going to have a killer just to kill, then, you know, make the movie like The Hunt, where it just opens up with people getting killed. And then you're like, why? And then you find out. You don't have to do all that pretext and setup. Yeah, that kind of did take some of the energy out of the film. It was really heavy on setup and light on payoff.
So I'm taking it, Katya, you're saying watch it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, I'm taking.
We don't always have to watch stuff for intensity. Sometimes escapism is a reason to enjoy something, and I think that fills that gap.
And I'm taking it, Shawn, you saying watch it.
Yeah, I say watch it. It starts off a little slow, but yeah, it's more fun than it is scary.
Okay, and I'm taking it, Lonita, you say leave the room?
I'm saying that there are better versions of this kind of story. If you don't watch it, you're not gonna miss nothing. But personally, I'm leaving the potential open for Mr. Franco's directing. I'm gonna see the next one.
All right, sounds good. So that leads us into our next film, and that film is Greyhound. And Katya, introduce this film. Tell us what this one is about.
Hold on, before Kathia starts, can I have a quick second to go grab a Red Bull, because I'm going to need some energy to get through this film.
For sure. Go ahead, Katya.
It's been a minute. This is the problem with these things. They come out and then it's like, all right, you know, that tells you if I'm saying like, if I can't really quickly jump in, that tells you what you need to know. He plays a Navy captain of a U-boat, and they get themselves into a fix where they're surrounded. And, you know, in usual Tom Hanks fashion, he comes to save the day. That's as enthusiastically as I can speak about it.
Okay, so
and it's sad because I love Tom Hanks.
So I stumbled, and I hate this because I don't want to know what people think about the movie before we get into this conversation. Because I'm connected with Shawn on so many pieces of social media, I stumbled on his review. So I already know what he's going to say. So I'm not even going to talk to him yet. Lanita, talk to me.
I'm going to say I'm not a war movie kind of person either. But I am Tom Hanks fan. So I thought it could go either way. For me, I agree 100% with Katya. That's how I felt. I appreciate that Tom Hanks wrote this. What I wish is that he had written it and directed it and cast someone else as the character. I think that would have been better. But aside from that, with the Red Bull, I did fall asleep on it 2 times.
So there's a couple of things that from an action war thing, that type of stuff works for me. I'm just going to let you guys know. The problem is that I didn't care, and I was watching the action and stuff, and I was like, oh, they did a nice job with that, but I didn't care. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't understand the relationships between them. I just didn't care, and I felt so empty when I left it.
No, I don't think you can. You make a great point. I watched the movie. I did not care at all. I had no feeling, no emotion toward anything that happened in that 2 hours.
I think the reason that you didn't care, I think this movie Greyhound suffers from the same thing that the current war suffers from. It's a very interesting moment in history, but in order to translate that tension to the screen, they had to rely on storytelling elements like sound design, the framing of the camera, all these things, rather than that tension being a part of the rhythm of the story.
I also think I think both Lanita and Katya said this. Tom Hanks is miscast. That's a huge problem with this film. He's miscast. I needed to see someone else. I know he has this huge passion for World War II. He should have just produced this, because I don't want to see him direct it either. It needed a better director, and it needed another person in the lead role.
Yeah, well, the reason why I would like to see him direct it is because he's got this thing that he does with his gaze. His best moments are when he's in a scene with another actor, and he's able to look at them, or the thing that they did in this Mr. Rogers movie that he was just in, his eye. And so I was hoping that he could translate that eye into the gaze, right? That's why I think it would be interesting to see him as a director.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I might disagree with all of you guys on this one. I don't know if a better director, a different actor, it didn't work. I mean, it just, the story didn't work. So you have this whole issue where they start off with his love interest. That love interest, it didn't help me through the movie. It did nothing for me to be like, oh, I'm hoping that this dude gets home. Then you had the thing with the cook, is that there was no real relationship between the two of them other than he was a servant. And, you know, he seemed like he cared about his job and tried to do it well, but there was no depth to it at all that made me say, oh, I get that.
I agree with you. Yeah, the lunch looked good.
I think the thing also is the standard for these type of movies. There's so much better movies that have done the submarine genre. And even though like Hunt for Red October is make believe, like that didn't happen necessarily in real life, Tom Clancy is a Navy guy. He was in the Navy. He has that background. He has a vernacular. So when you're reading or you're watching the adaptations of his books, it's very specific and it's very true to that. Or Das Boot, which is the German film that's much better. If you enjoy that type of war type of movie and you want to see that on the summary. I think, again, like you're watching this movie and you just want everybody to sink. You want it to be over with. You don't care who loses, who gets rescued. Yeah. It's kind of like, for me, like Titanic. Like, I watched that film and I'm like, I'm ready for everybody to drown. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just, that's a horrible thing. And again, I love Tom Hanks, and very rarely do I not find joy watching that man on the screen. But I do think it's a problem sometimes in Hollywood when you have a star that is so revered, respected, and has delivered like Tom Hanks, that people don't have the guts to say, maybe I understand what you want to do, but maybe you don't need to be the one to embody this character. Give that opportunity to someone else. And then you do the behind the scenes things, like Lonita said. We're so enamored with Tom Hanks that if he said to you he wanted to make a movie about a Crayola, just being a Crayola, people will greenlight that. And I think we have to be a little bit more honest and sometimes tell people, I understand what you're trying to do, but this one ain't for you, boo.
Can I weigh in on something? I feel out of place out of the four people. I don't think Tom Hanks is that dope overall. Like, what? No, I don't. I mean, he's a good actor. I just don't think he's just this gifted, like, overly talented thespian. He's been good in about maybe 4 or 5 movies. He's good. I just don't think he's that great. That's just me. I don't think he's that great.
I'm fighting back tears right now. Hold up.
I don't think he's that great. He's okay.
You feeling some kind of way, Lonita?
I'm feeling all the kinds of ways right now, okay?
Tom Hanks is the Nas of actors.
You coming for Nas now?
Are you coming for Nas?
He's got one master. Like Nas has one masterpiece album. He's a gifted lyricist, but only one masterpiece with a couple of better than average albums. Tom Hanks has only delivered one masterful performance. He has several great performances, but he's got a lot of mediocre stuff on his resume. That's me, though. That's my personal opinion.
I don't know. I love him as the uncle on Family Ties. I love him as Forrest Gump. I really love.
I hate Forrest Gump. I hate Forrest. I hate.
No. I like Forrest Gump. I like Run, Forrest, Run.
Oh, Shawn.
We don't until you came for Nas, and my favorite Tom Hanks movie actually is not what one would consider a mainstream success of it, is The Burbs. I love that film. I will watch that film whenever that is on. I think The Road to Perdition,
that's his best performance.
I think he was good, but I definitely think what Tom Hanks has done, in my opinion, is he has probably shown the most growth, and we did not realize that silly guy on Bosom Buddies had that much talent, that he had the ability to stretch.
No, he's
from
good.
You know what I mean? From Philadelphia to Forrest Gump, and just even Saving Private Ryan. Like, here's my thing with Tom, which a lot of actors don't have. I believe him when he plays somebody. Except in this movie.
Yes.
But I believe it when he plays somebody, you know what I mean?
I have to agree with
that,
Shawn.
I think that's hard, because my problem with a lot of actors is they're cool people and they do cool stuff, but I don't believe when they play a character. I never have that issue really with him other than this movie. And I also love the fact that he's not afraid to take chances, knowing that he has this box office clout, this prestige around him. He's willing to do some stuff that, it doesn't always translate to everybody, but he's not a movie star. Even though he's a movie star, he doesn't approach his career like a movie star.
He's absolutely an actor's actor. Having a theater background, he is incredibly revered for his prowess. He has a very theatrical approach. And when he accepted his Oscar, he thanked his high school drama teacher, his first Oscar. His first Oscar. And he quoted, "Act well thy part, there all honor lies." Every thespian was. Yes.
That was cool. That was cool.
Hey, we got to move on, but man, Man, Tom Hanks just got, wow. So I'm taking it, Lanita, you saying don't watch it. I don't even asking Shawn. No, all right, I'm taking Shawn. You're saying don't watch it.
Didn't work. It just didn't work.
And I'm definitely saying don't watch it. So Katya, you got the last word on this one.
If you having problems sleeping, throw that joint on.
Well, I'm gonna take off my captain's hat and go back.
It was rough.
Go back. You
Yeah,
know,
it was a rough watch. It was rough.
All right. So now somebody in our group suggested that we do something called the Pandemic Awards, and this is to look at how the world has really changed in the landscape of cinema, to say who have been the winners, who's been the losers, and we just put it out there for the critics to go out there. And I'm going to start. I'm going to start with I'm going to start talking about the winners. I'm just going to throw out one of the winners out there. It wasn't even a movie, but I can't even not talk about this. Tiger King was a winner. Tiger King was a winner, y'all. I don't even know how I'm going downstairs, all of my family watching Tiger King. Tiger King was a winner. So you guys jump in. What was the winner for the pandemic?
I agree with you on that. The Tiger King was the winner, but I hated every second of you. If I were to cite a winner during the pandemic, it would be independent filmmakers. Reason why: there are a lot of titles that have gained exposure that would have otherwise not gotten any attention because they would have been drowned out by the gluttony of summer blockbusters that are usually released during the summertime. So kudos to all these small films that we've been covering, because there's been a content shortfall, and most of them have been independent films. In fact, the best movie so far in 2020 is an independent film called Miss Juneteenth. And if the George Floyd incident wouldn't have happened, and if the pandemic wouldn't have happened, people would have paid no attention to this beautifully directed, well-written, thoughtfully, I mean, everything about this movie is dope, a must-see. Just the dynamic between a Black mother and a Black daughter, the fact that it gave nod to the history of Juneteenth, explored, Black ownership, Black relationships. I mean, so many issues were dealt so perfectly in this film, which otherwise no one would have known about other normal circumstances. So independent filmmakers are the big winner.
All right, Katya, who's the big winner for you?
That's what I was going to say, independent filmmakers. It forced people to look at films. I'm a huge indie film. That's something that we pride ourselves on our site, that we elevate those films. When I go cover festivals, I am just as thrilled to speak to independent filmmakers as I am to sometimes more than mainstream stars, just to keep it 1,000. And it definitely is. Miss Juneteenth was on my radar. I literally left the theater and I tweeted out, "This is the most amazing film." And been so blessed to be able to have done some work with the filmmakers to elevate this piece of work. I said it right now. I said, especially in this year, there's zero excuse for Nicole Beharie not to be in award contention come award season. Her performance, she's been good for a long time. But this is the vehicle that pushed her to the front. You know what I mean? She was like a good chorus girl in the back. People were talking about her, and now she's finally gets to be the star. And I would like to see. I mean, this award, please. I'm like, let's all fight, because this film and the studio does not have the $20 million to campaign like other studios. So it's up to us to use whatever power we have to push to the front. And the other one, I would say streaming services. The same people that people in Hollywood were lamenting, laughing at, calling, microwave things and all kinds of ugly names. Netflix has not laid people off. Netflix is striving and is pushing Amazon to step its marketing. I think Amazon has great content, but their marketing sucks. So it's pushed them to be better. You got NBC trying to do this thing with the Peacock, HBO Max. They were late to the party. They're finally understanding that that I'm not saying that replacing theater, because I don't think anything can replace that, but there are a lot of people who don't want to go to theaters, that want to have that experience and have, invested in a home
That's
set and want to see stuff. And also people forget it's very pricey to go to the movie. So I would say the other winner is streaming services. Look who's laughing now. I'm just
Lonita?
Yeah, I would have to agree with both Shawn and Katya about the independent films. I personally haven't watched a ton of movies during the pandemic. I've actually been catching up on old shows that I did not watch, like Monk and Bones. So in terms of movies who are winners, and this is going a little bit more commercial, for me, Trolls World Tour was huge. And not that it was a great movie, but it was the movie that I felt when everybody was panicking about what the box office would be like post-pandemic or in pandemic. Trolls World Tour came along and said, this is going to be the formula right now. This is how we're going to continue forward. This is how we're going to keep the industry, the economics of the industry propped up. And so I agree about the streaming service being kind of a mountain.
Yeah.
So, holding up the sky. Yeah.
So we got a lot of categories, but I have to say that I think movies like My Spy and Lovebirds were winners because they would not have gotten any viewers. Movies like that wouldn't have gotten those kind of viewers. I think that the mediocre movie was a winner in this pandemic.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
and because there's stuff that I wouldn't even have watched, and I'm watching it because I'm like, I'm at home, so I wanted to mention that as well. So let's talk a little bit about our losers. Is that I'm going to start with you, Katya, first, because I don't want Shawn to steal yours this time. So losers during the pandemic. During the pandemic is what?
The loser is, although I think the film is going to be amazing when it comes out, is the team behind the marketing of Tenet. This pushing it forward, backwards every 2 weeks. I'm like, do you watch the news? Are you aware of what's going on in California, Florida? These are huge markets for movies. Like you can't roll out a movie that costs $200 million hoping that the pandemic is going to be cured in 2 weeks with these staggering numbers. Like, people don't even feel comfortable to get a haircut, but they're supposed to stay in a movie theater in order to watch your film. Again, I think the film is going to be brilliant. I think Christopher Nolan is amazing. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. I love Dunkirk, a movie that a lot of people didn't like. But like his insistence that he was going to save the theater, I'm like, no, homie. I kept saying, just slap 2021 in that, John, and let's keep it moving. Like, it's coming up August, September, October. I'm like, it's in the title, 10-10. Hello? So I think the Warner Brothers not being firm and saying, bro, not this year, not gonna happen. So now they look dumb with this indefinite date when they just should have said, like all the other big movies that came out early and said, we're moving it to 2021, and we would have kept it moving.
All right. Shawn, losers, man.
Oh, man, by far the biggest losers is the theatrical experience, whether you're AMC, Regal, any of those big exhibitor chains. I mean, the theatrical experience for all intensive purposes is dead. Habits are hard to break, and we formed a new habit during the pandemic. It's called streaming. I have 2 young girls. They have not once asked me, when are we going to see a movie at a movie theater? They don't miss it. They love watching movies on their devices. They love watching movies at home. It's going to be hard to get people to go back to the movie theater in the ways that we were pre-pandemic. And a lot of it is not AMC or any of the movie exhibitors' fault. The studios are going to have to deliver far better content to get people to get off the couch into their car to drive to see a movie and pay extra for it. When you have all these streaming services in the palm of your hand, within the reach of your remote, man, the theatrical experience is in trouble.
Uh-oh, Lonita, losers.
So mine was kind of in a similar vein about movie going in general. I, every day for a while, was wishing that I had owned a drive-in theater. Man, I think that...
that's a winner, actually. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. It's one of those, I have an emotional sense of, like, I fear that the movie going experience will become something precious, something that is a relic, something that a certain generation remembers in contextualized in a particular way. You know, and I always talk about having gotten up after Sunday school and my grandma being like, hey, y'all get your coats on, you know, let's go to the movies. And it being like, yay! And you roll in and it's Superman on the big screen, you know, or the first time you wore those blue and red 3D glasses. And so to come from that, so to come from that to, I have young people, young kids too, and not once have they been like, hey, when the movie's coming back. And for me, I'm kind of mourning the experience, but it's a new day. So yeah, I agree.
Well, so my loser actually is live TV. People think that we're at home and a lot of people watching live TV. People aren't watching live TV. It did not get a bump. I'm talking about this. We might be watching stuff on a TV, but we're not watching live TV. We're catching up on shows. We're looking at the movies. We're in those devices that Shawn talked about. So live TV is a loser. And I think that's going to be real trouble for live TV. And that's why,
because you also need an audience for live TV. And you can't do it right now.
And I think,
I could also say, I'm sorry, Reggie.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Juneteenth said something really important. The entrepreneurs that are taking advantage of this theater void, like we drove down, I was on my way to the store and my daughter said, oh my God, Mom, are we getting a drive-in? In an area, open land, these people got together and that sucker was put up on a Monday and it opened yesterday. Sold out, $25 a car, showing movies all throughout. Walmart is getting in the drive-in movie business. People want to go to the movies, but they don't want to go to the traditional movie because they don't feel safe, and rightly so.
Yeah.
I also think that movie theaters are going to have to come better than charging, especially places like New York where you're paying $15 a ticket to go see a movie, and in California, by me, you can still do it for 10. And they're going to have to give you more bang for your buck, whether it's with these club things or whatever. And I'm not talking about that stale popcorn. And also, you got to remember, they were already being challenged by things like Movie Tavern and Alamo Draft, where you could have a drink, you can have a dinner. These places were giving you more. And AMC near me just started serving liquor. And I know we're in Pennsylvania, so, you know, our liquor laws are a little bit more ancient. But they were already behind some of these other chains doing things to make the theater experience more engaging. You know, Movie Tavern does $5 movies on Tuesdays by me. So they're going to have to look at their whole business model, and they're going to have to come better than just say, we have a great movie, because movies are coming to video, to streaming a lot faster than they used to. So I think it's going to force people to give better service. Theaters have to start looking better. We all know these theaters were not being cleaned properly. It's sad that it took a pandemic. So it's forcing that industry to say, what do we need to do to not only help people overcome fears, but to make this experience of coming to the movie theater amazing, other than, you know, we've got Mulan. People are going to be like, what else you got?
Hey, I love that. And I'm really glad you picked up on that. Got to move to the next category. Biggest surprise, I'm going to throw out two. I think the Netflix watch party was a surprise for me. I could not believe that people want to get together with somebody else and watch a movie from afar. That just didn't work for me. My daughters is talking about, we doing a Netflix watch party for real? And then And the other thing that was a big surprise is the movie Unsubscribe. That was a big surprise, what they did, how they became the #1 movie at the box office. That was a big surprise for me. You guys jump in.
All right, my biggest surprise is the return of soft porn. Netflix is killing it. Movies like 365 Days have become just mega massive hits. A small movie that was shot in Poland for like pennies was released theatrically, just did okay. Netflix bought the rights. It became the #1 movie in like 8 countries. People are watching it, going crazy over it. I don't know if it's because people are stuck at home and they can't get out and date, or people are tired of being with their significant others because they're in a rut. You know, same old, they're looking for a little jolt. I don't know what it is, but that movie massively blew up. For instance, the lead actor was out of work. An out-of-work Italian actor became a gardener, basically out of the biz, fluked up, got this role in the film, had 200,000 Instagram subscribers. He now has 7.5 million. This thing is a massive hit. Now Netflix has titles like MILF that are blowing up, a couple other soft porn titles that people are watching in droves. Reminds me of the old days when Cinemax used to show the crazy nudie movies and you were a kid and snuck and watched. But the return of soft porn has elevated Netflix to yet another level.
So what channel can I catch those on?
Netflix, man.
Okay.
And they're all European produced, you know. So they're great with that genre. They're killing it, and 365 Days is a fun. I've watched it 3 times. It's a fun watch. It's great.
Okay,
entertaining.
All right, Shawn.
Return to soft porn. Biggest surprise of the pandemic.
Right, okay, Lanita, what you got? Biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise for me was the incredibly challenging and slow start for Quibi. I thought it was gonna hit. I thought it was gonna let me get this little 10-minute boom, boom, boom. And so I'm very surprised at the challenges. I mean, of course, it's business, it's to be expected, but I thought it, especially within a pandemic, I thought it was gonna just skyrocket.
Wow. And you, Katya?
I'm gonna say that I didn't think Quibi was going to hit because there are people on there that you can see in other things and better things. And although I do believe that we are, a majority of the public is microwave attention span, at the end of the day, it's not enough to make somebody, when we're already paying for 16 different things, to say, I want to buy into that. They're going to have to figure out whether it's price or packaging or whatever, in order to make that a little bit more.
I agree with you. Content is key. I think the content suffers.
I think they went the wrong direction generationally. I think Quibi would have worked if they would have like cut a bunch of deals with like TikTok superstars or YouTube superstars. You didn't need to cut a deal with Reese Witherspoon and Kevin Hart and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. If they would have cut deals with all these TikTok, if they would have like gave shows to these TikTok stars and shows to these YouTube stars, and if they would have made this more appealing for like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, it would have been a hit. But they were marketing this thing to adults whose like viewing habits are already set in. They needed to aim this at a much younger generation, and then it would have blew up.
Well, I gotta keep it moving, keep us on time. For best performance, I'm gonna have Ashton Sanders in All Day and a Night. That's gonna be my call. And I because we're short on time, I'm not gonna go through the explanation on that. But Ashton Sanders on All Day and a Night.
I'll go. I'm Nicole Bahari, Miss Juneteenth. Hands down. I think she, she just is amazing in that film. I love that film so much that I own it. So that's how much I love it. I pay for it.
Shawn, Lanita?
I'll go Niecy Nash in Uncorked. I thought she was amazing in that. I really loved her in that.
I did too.
And in terms of a male performance, I know it's kind of bandwagonish, but Delroy Lindo from The Five Bloods.
For sure. for sure. Lonita.
I'm gonna say something a little, but I really enjoyed Dave Bautista's performance in My Spy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't want to watch My Spy and got dragged to that one, but go ahead.
It was cute.
It was cute. It was actually the last movie I saw in the theater before the shelter in place, and the audience I saw it with had a blast. You know, we laughed, talked back to the screen, we clapped when the credits rolled. It was a good little family flick. I took my 24-year-old son. He had a good time. We was rolling. So I had a good time. I have thought that Dave Bautista has been kind of yes and no, yay and nay. For this one, it was yay for me.
All right, good. Well, moving into Best Directing again, I'll start real quick. I'm going to go with Channing Godfrey for Peoples for Miss Juneteenth, and I'm a cheat and just say Joe Robert Cole for All Day and a Night. I like what they both did in both of those films.
I'm going Channing. Miss Juneteenth's the best movie I've seen so far this year by far. Great job of directing. We need to be singing her praises. I mean, we need to give her the full Ava DuVernay treatment. Like, let's pump her up. Like, what she did was amazing. That's one of the few movies I've seen in a long time that's going to actually be around for years to come.
Excellent. Katya? Lonita?
I'm going to go in a different direction. Obviously, I'm a huge Channing fan, but she was already mentioned. There's a film I saw at Sundance, and I don't know what's going on with that release, but The Father with Anthony Hopkins, which Anthony Hopkins gives an out-of-this-world performance. And I hope they get it together and figure it out, because he deserves also to be in awards contention. The director is Florian Zeller, and that was just brilliantly done. It's so, like, you know, it deals with a man going through dementia and what that looks like for the family, but it's done through his lens, which we don't get to see. And what Anthony does at this age, in this stage in his career, to do something this amazing deserves to be seen. And to have a director to give him the range to do it is really, really important, because you could see there was an immense trust between the two in that process. So I sincerely hope that, you know, they figure out a way to get this film in front of an audience, because it's definitely, and Olivia Colman's in it. So, you know, Olivia Colman.
But does it have a distribution deal yet? I don't think it has a distribution. Does it have a distribution deal yet?
I don't think so, but wait a minute. Yes. It's Sony Pictures and Lionsgate. It's a cooperation between the two. Sorry.
But it doesn't have a release date then.
No, it doesn't have a release date, but it deserves. It's on out of Sundance. I was like, this movie will remain on my top 10 list. I'm very, and by the end, that's how much I loved it. And he's just, we all walked out and we're like, wow.
Well, it sounds like something you could definitely watch as a streamer as opposed to the big screen. So the pandemic's not going to end anytime soon.
No,
you'll be eligible for Pandemic Awards Part 2.
No,
no Pandemic Awards Part 2.
No.
Lonita, jump in.
Side is like, we're like, yeah, you know, I don't like to do the awards thing, but he's one of my favorite actors, and it's inspiring. It goes to show you that as you get older, people have something left in the tank. Like, stop saying that people are done at 50, at 60, at 70. If you're of sound mind and body and you are willing to you have the strength, show that, you know what I mean? And this is an important topic that a lot of us have family members have gone through this, and we never see the point of view of the person that's dealing with it. And this does, I think, a beautiful job, and respectfully, without making it like, tacky and just trying to take advantage of a very serious illness.
Thank you. All right, Lonita, what?
All right, so for me, I appreciate things that surprise me, that change my mind. Usually I'm cool on his work. I see it, but it's, you know, Judd Apatow with The King of Staten Island, I was very pleasantly surprised. I expected to kind of hate that movie, and I was very moved by it as a mother, and like I said, I have a 24-year-old son, and so it really resonated with me, and our relationship. So I'm gonna go with Judd Apatow on that.
All right. Well, our last our last category, which we're not going to get to because we're at the end, you guys. So get to our closing statements. So you can add it in your closing statement if you want to. But the last category was the most interesting trend. So in our last, our final statements, I'll start, and then after that, Katia, Shawn, and then Lonita, you'll have the last word. Is that we had the discussion about the movie John Lewis, Good Trouble. And in our discussion, I think universally we agreed that it was not the killer documentary. But given the death of John Lewis and the time, I think that the time right now is actually right for that to have come out. And I hope that people see it, if only for the reason to get them to look at how impressive this man was. I will tell you, after watching the television and watching the tributes to him, I do think that I saw things that were better than or could have been included in this documentary. So I am not saying that this is the best thing ever, but it is what we have for now. And this man deserves to be remembered. And I hope that people look at him and get into a little good trouble, even though the trouble wasn't as great as we probably would like. That's my closing statement. Going off to you, Katya.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's unfortunate, you know, sometimes a movie in history and life intersect. And I think you should use this movie as a opening point to go out and research more and read more about this man. And I think that's a good thing. You know, I think movies, when they're documentaries or even biographical pictures, people want to pass that off as history class. But I'm like, it should push you, if the movie's doing its job, to want to know more. And I think Congressman Lewis, with everything going on, it should inspire us to be uncomfortable, to get uncomfortable and get into this game of life. A lot of us are very comfortable reaping the rewards of things, and I live in this phase of fear and not wanting to speak out. This is not the time to be silent. You know, you don't have to protest out in the street if that's not your bag, but you do have to use whatever privilege you have to say, this isn't right and it needs to get better.
Excellent. Going to you, Shawn.
Yeah, my final remarks is, yeah, please check out the documentary. No, it's not the best, but it does need to be seen. And also, I just think that it's a travesty that there's never been a definitive feature film about the importance of the civil rights movement as a whole. It's never been done. We haven't seen it. It's about time we get a feature film about the civil rights movement in America. Just hasn't been done. It's a shame.
Lonita, you got the last word.
Well, in terms of the documentary, I do still need to see it. But in terms of John Lewis, I became enamored with him after his speech, of all places, at the Academy Awards. And he was standing next to Amandla Sandberg, is her name, right? And everybody gave him a standing ovation. The heart and the way that he was able to raise his spirit and fill the room with it. It was incredible. And that little girl couldn't do nothing but just stand there and like petrified by it. And I'm not an award season kind of person. I watch them because I'm a critic, but that was a moment that made me happy to be watching it. And so I think it is a great loss. Yeah.
Well, guys, look, that's our show. We actually did it on time-ish. I appreciate Kathia Woods. I absolutely appreciate Lanita Cook for coming in and joining us, and also appreciate Shawn Edwards. Thanks, guys. This is where critics come to discuss, debate, and have a little fun. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot, man. 365 days.